Hi y'all. The time has come. Someone has asked me to do this. More than one person actually has asked me to do this tag, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And that was like months ago, and then I just never did it because I was like, that's a lot to think about. That's a lot. But here we are. I sat down, I wrote the list. It was hard. It was emotional. It was stressful. But we're here now. So yeah, I am doing, guys, if I could only keep 10 palettes, what would they be? Let's get into it. Hi y'all. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. My name is Amira, and like I said in the intro, the first intro, we're doing the If I Could Only Keep 10 eyeshadow palettes, what would they be tag. And I wrote this list a while ago, and then I had one slot left, and I had to think really long and hard about that. But I filled it. I thought about it. I was like, okay, just the first thing that comes to your mind, and I threw it in there. Yeah. So we're gonna see this. We're gonna talk through this because I've got things to say about this list. So let's get into it. So I'm just gonna go 1 through 10. They're not in any order of importance per se. They're just 1 through 10. But I'm gonna talk about each one and why they would be kept in the collection. And let me scoosh so that I can, I could grab each palette, but then that would require me to get up and like dig them out, and I'm feeling really lazy today, guys. Like, I've got cramps. It's just like, it's one of those days. So I'm just gonna pop a picture up. I own all of these palettes. If you see my collection videos, you know this. So yeah, I'm just gonna move to the side and I'll put a little picture up of it, okay? Forgive me. All right, so first up is the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. I feel like if you guys know my channel, if you've been here a while, you know that this was a given. Like, it's a given. It is, I could maybe even say it's my favorite palette of all time. I could even go there. I could go there in my mind very easily. It's one of my favorite palettes that are in my collection. It's one of my favorite palettes of all time. Period. It's not going anywhere. And if I needed to keep just, 10 palettes, this is already just like a given. It's a beautiful palette. It has a ton of shades in it, which is helpful. But also, I just love the formulas. I love Natasha's cream and powder formula. I love the shades. It's a very versatile palette. You've got a lot of options. I can do a lot with it. She stays. Next up is one of my other favorite palettes of all time, which is my Pat McGrath Subliminal Mothership 1. Given, not going anywhere, would stay. Beautiful, beautiful palette. The special shades are what make this palette. The first, shades in the palette are great. Like, they're all cool tone. This palette can look really boring, but it's actually a really beautiful, versatile palette. And because I've used it so much, I know that, and I know that it will get use and it will function well if I only had 10 palettes to work with. So again, number 2, she's staying. She's not going nowhere. Number 3, also staying. She's not going nowhere. My Muerte palette. I mean, obvi. I don't know if I can even say anything. Like, this palette is so beloved. I feel like I see this palette on Poshmark going for like $200. Like, people love this palette, and there is a reason for that. It is a beautiful color story. The formula is fantastic. It is one of my favorite palettes. It's probably, one of my, I feel like it's neck and neck with Gemini. Gemini, because it has such a place in my heart for other reasons. But I would say that this one is the one that it's just, I don't know. It's got something about it. A certain je ne sais quoi, She stays. Next up is my other Melt palette, my Melt Gemini palette, because like I said, I couldn't, they're like neck and neck. And I was like, I was choosing between that one and the Kaleidos Sci-Fi Green because I own both and they both have the same functions. Like they have the murky, swampy greens, but Gemini is my baby. It's the first Melt palette I ever bought. I'm a Gemini. I bought it for my birthday when it first dropped and I was so excited. Also, it's a bit more versatile than Sci-Fi Greens, which is just like a 6-pan of greens. This has some neutrals that I can also use, and they have that undertone of neutrals that I really love, which is that sort of like grungy yellowy undertone. So again, just a classic. I love it. It stays. It goes nowhere. Okay. Next up, I have a palette that is also near and dear to my heart. And whenever I mention this palette or talk, you know, or I think about it, it just makes me sad because I look at the Milani palettes now and the color stories look very pretty, but I've seen reviews for the formula and everyone talks about how the formula is not the biz compared to their old formula. And it makes me want to hold on ever so tighter to the two palettes that I have from with their old formula. One of them being their Soft and Sultry, which is a banger of a palette. This palette it's a perfect cool tone palette. It has traveled with me. It has seen me through dark times. I'm being dramatic here, but it's just a great palette and it's a great cool tone staple. Like if you just want like the basics, cool tones, you can reach for it, get that sweet, simple, cool tone look, this is it. And it makes me sad that this palette is not available anymore because she deserved better. That's all I'm saying. She deserved better. Next up is my Artist Couture Supreme Nudes. And I think of this palette the same way I think of Soft and Sultry. In the sense, this is still available. The formula, what I mean by that is it's a banging formula. It's one of those palettes that's just like, if you want some warm tone neutrals, you just want like one that just gets the job done, does the thing. This is that palette. One of my favorite neutral palettes in my collection. It's just a really great staple palette. And you have shades in there that can bring the palette, you know, can sort of, you know, raise the bar, so to speak, for your look, you know, level up. When you want to level up, you can do a basic boring neutral look, or you can use these beautiful golds. And like there's a shade in here that has like it's almost like glitter, but it's not. It's textured gold. It's beautiful. You've got that beautiful olive. Exactly. So that would be on the list. Next up, I have my Give Me Glow Cosmetics Vintage Rose. I was like, I need something that has some beautiful, like banging metallics, that has colors that like I don't have in all these other palettes that I just picked. I need something that will serve that purpose. And Vintage Rose is one of my favorite palettes in my collection in general anyway. So this was a given for me. It's just a beautiful palette. It's a beautiful palette. Give Me Glow's formula is top notch. I think it's a beautiful palette, and it gives me all of those pinky rosy tones that I don't have in any of these other palettes that I just mentioned. So it serves a purpose as well on top of being fabulous. Next up, and I think that is, where are we at? How many have I done? Have I done 8? Oh wow, I'm really chugging through, huh? Yeah, number 8 is another Natasha Denona palette, and it is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I don't know why I wanted to add this to the list, but it just kept coming up in my head. Every time I think of the list, I go gold. I'd be like, why though? Gold. But why, Amira? Gold. And so I listened to the voice and I've added it to the list. I can tell you why I love this palette. So maybe that is why I want it on the list. Maybe that's why my lizard brain was like, gold. It's just a beautiful palette, guys. I love the tones. Gold is the first full-size Natasha Denona palette that I ever purchased. The first like 129 palette, you know, the Give Me All the Money palette. And it remains one of those palettes that every time I use it, I just have fun using it. And I love the shades. Is it a groundbreaking palette? Is it even that different from a lot of the palettes that I've just mentioned? Nah. But my brain kept saying gold. So here it is. Can I say? Next up, and I think this is the 9th, is I was thinking, I was getting to the end of the list, guys, and I was having a hard time. I was struggling. I was like, oh, what's going to hit those last 2 spots? You know, I don't know. And I tried to think, I'm like, well, what do I have that's like, you know, should I go for something that's really different? And then I can be like, yeah, different. And, you know, should I try to do like rainbow? And the thing that popped up in my head was the Kylath Beauty, formerly Muse Beauty, Van Gogh palette. It popped up into my head and I was like, yeah, I'd keep her around. It's funny because that palette has, I mean, it's not one of those palettes that's like the most popular palette for me as far as like what's in my collection. Like, it's the one that I'm always reaching for. It's not, but I don't know. My brain again said Van Gogh palette, and I was like, all right, let's go with that. Van Gogh palette. So here it is. I mean, this is the thing. This is why I had a hard time with this list and with this tag, is that I'm saying that, and I agree with that, but I can also think of like 5 other palettes to add to this list that I feel the same way about. You know what I mean? So it's like I could do a 15 palettes. If I could only keep 15, I could do 15 easily. Doing 10 is a little harder. It's a little harder. But this one keeps coming up, so I'm going to add it to the list for now. I might update this tag and just be like, I changed my mind about all this, guys. Sorry. But right as of now, as of April 2022, she's on the list. And finally, number 10. I said how I was struggling with number 10, and I literally was sitting, I had just sat down to film and I put down number 10, and then I changed my mind while I was doing this video. I was literally here talking to you guys and retyping my list on my phone. I originally had Pat Mcgrath Decadence on the list because it is one of my all-time faves. It is in the top 3 of my Pat Mcgrath faves on my ranking. And I have a Pat Mcgrath ranking, so if you want to see that, I have a playlist of all my Pat Mcgrath videos. I have a ranking of all of the motherships and of the 6 pans, and I have a ranking of the quads coming up soon, guys. Look out for that. I had a hard time with this because I was like, oh, maybe Decadence. Then I was like, no, because the reason why you would pick Decadence, you've already got those shades tenfold already on the list. Pick something different. What's the other one that you would want to keep? And I immediately thought, oh, duh, Midnight Sun. So we've scratched off Decadence, and number 10 on the list is Pat Mcgrath Midnight Sun. Why, you ask? Because I love it. And I was struggling between the two. Like, my top 3 Pat Mcgraths are Subliminal, Decadence, and Midnight Sun. So you see my dilemma here, right? Like, I didn't want to put all 3, but I had to put at least 2, right? So I was struggling. But Midnight Sun has won. So Midnight Sun it is. And I've talked about this palette ad nauseum. It's beautiful. The color story is top notch. What more could you want? All right, guys, so that is my very chaotic, if I could only keep 10 palettes, what would I keep? Those are the ones that I'm keeping as of now, April 2022. It's probably going to change in a year, 6 months, who knows? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, and if you're not subscribed, please be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye now.